Welcome to After Class. My name is Trey Cassini, a senior at Incline High School with Ilse Garcia, who's a junior. We are here to interview Ivet Contreras. She is an alumni from the class of 2007.
Welcome, Ivet. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We are some of the first students here in this brand new class here at the high school, our media class. And we were just wondering what has inspired you to join the media world.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me here. It's been a couple years since I visited the hall, so it's very nostalgic to walk through these halls and be like, wow, like I was a student here. And what made me go into the media world? I think that there was always something in me that really enjoyed informing people. I thought information was power, the knowledge was power. And then I did, growing up in Incline Village, part of a minority community, you see sometimes that those gaps that exist are sometimes for a lack of information. So I kind of felt like I had some kind of responsibility to kind of be that liaison, or to be that kind of that provide my 2 cents in making sure that my community was empowered. But who really, I believe, kind of discovered or put me in the path of going into the media world was Ms. Brown. She was middle school teacher, and then she moved over here to the high school, and she was my English teacher at that time, and she was helping out with the newspaper club. I don't know if you guys still have it here. Not anymore. That's a bummer. But you guys have this, so that's awesome. Yeah. Innovative, right? So she came up to me. I was at lunch, and I remember she just came up to me, and she's like, hey, we really want to start a column, a Latino perspective column, and I think you would be a perfect fit to do it. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought it was a great idea. So I joined the newspaper club, and there we go. I wrote the Latino, it was a Latino column, and it was like kind of a coincidence, I think, that I was in Miss Faye's class as well. Mm-hmm. And it was a history class, and one of the activities that she had us do was to look at like who we are and where we come from. And it really, it was like, it was perfect, right? I'm writing this Latino column, and then we're having my teacher kind of like have me look into myself and my background and where I'm from and where I come from. And that was my first article. It was called Stuck in Between, which was, am I Latino enough? Am I American enough? Like, can they coexist? Can I eat tacos, but can I also enjoy a baseball game? Can I listen to Juan Gabriel, but then also listen to, I don't know, Britney Spears or Frank Sinatra, if you want to put him in the Juan Gabriel kind of level. And that was my first article. And it was published in the Bonanza. I don't even think the Tahoe Bonanza still exists, does it?
No,
I'll be really bummed if it doesn't. No. Well, that was our local newspaper, so that was on the Sunday newspaper. So, I got a couple people reaching out after I wrote that article. And then I went into a little bit more of activism, journalism there. I also had an article, a column, also about immigration. It was like during the time when there was, it's always big, right? Immigration is always a hot topic, right? But it was really a column looking at, supporting some of my friends who I knew were undocumented. It's like before DACA, the opportunity to have some kind of legal status. And I realized that I have some, I do have citizenship. I was born in the U.S., but a lot of my friends weren't. And so I lived in that world, right, where I'm a citizen, but my friends are, and I know that I have some sort of privilege that my friends don't have. And so some of that was to advocate for some of my friends and their families. And then that just was like, that's what I did here in school. And that was kind of my passion. And that's where I went into media, went into journalism school at UNR.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey in becoming, like a CEO of your own company now? Like, how was it like getting there? What did it take?
Yeah, so I think I always loved that title of CEO, right? But I didn't think that Ivet Contreras, a Latina girl, could have a CEO title, So I think, when I was younger, even like in middle school and high school, I'm like, that'd be so cool for me to be CEO. And even though I'm just like an owner of my business, business owner, we have a lot of people in the business order, but I'm like, I'm going to be a CEO. I'm going to call myself a CEO because I'm a CEO. Oh, really? I started off in journalism. When I was a reporter, I started off in Channel 4 behind the scenes, just helping with producing the morning show. If you guys still tune into Channel 4 here. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to do a transition. I want to be in front of the camera because it was important for me. Representation was important for me because when I was looking at news, I didn't really see people that looked like me. So I was like, I need some people that look like me on camera, that, report on topics that are important to myself and people in my community, because we're all a community, right? And so some of these stories are not shared. And I'm like, why are they not shared? Like, we're still part of the community. And I went over to Spanish news, and I worked at Univision and Telemundo, lived here in Reno, and then also in Las Vegas. Oh, wow. And that was a great opportunity because a lot of, some of the stories that I did there were very informational stories. But when I moved to Las Vegas, there's a lot of the stories there were really based on crime. And you get to a point where you're just covering crime and crime and crime and crime. And they're like, the purpose that I'm here is I want to empower, I want to inform, I want to make a difference in my community. And it felt like something was missing, right? And I'll be honest with you, I went to see, I think it's the first time that I ever saw a psychologist, a therapist, because it was so hard because I had built myself. I went through college. I was I was reporter, when I come back here to hometown, la reportera, Ivet Contreras, like I developed some kind of a title, right? And so transitioning to, I want to get out of this, I want to do something else, led me to kind of seek out therapy and see, hey, like, how do I transition out of a career that is not fulfilling me at that point? And, how do I not let people down, right? And it was hard, and I did it. And I took a mental break. And I think what made me take that mental break too was become, one part of it is I became a mom, and the work-life balance was very difficult. And my priorities changed. And then third, I was there when the Las Vegas massacre happened. And that weighed really heavy on me, just seeing all of that. And so I think that kind of was where I clicked. I'm like, oh my God, this is heavy. Like I need to change things around. And so I came back home. This is home for me. So Northern Nevada is home. And I was, okay, let me revalue, like, what is my passion? Like, what got me into journalism? And it's really that empowering my community, being inclusive, equity, making sure, diversity, equity, and inclusion is part of my passion and my mission. And so I just started picking up little jobs here with public relations, which is, you get hired by an organization, a politician or a business, and they're like, hey, I have this message, I have this product, I have this, I want to sell it, I want to put it out there. And even working in news, I saw that a lot of messages weren't catered to the Latino or the Spanish speaking community. And so I'm like, I can fill a void, like there's an opportunity there. And so quickly just taking these little gigs here and there, they became into a full business. And now I work with like the city of Reno, Washoe County Health District. I even work with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and a couple other organizations, helping them with their Latino outreach. And it's so gratifying and fulfilling. And I get to, have the title of CEO because I chose that title and nobody can take it away.
How long were you, like, before you broke off into like the private sector and like just started your own business? Like, how long were you with Channel 4 News and the Telemundo and all that stuff? Like, how long?
So I graduated from UNR 2012, and before I graduated, I was already working at Channel 4. So from 2012 until about 2018, so about like 6 years or so that I was actually working in my career, the journalism, and then late 2018 is when I made that change.
I feel like that's pretty quick. Like, what do you think contributed to all that success? Do you think you had a passion that was like fulfilling something greater than yourself? Or like, do you think it was something more self-involved and you wanted to just bring out like the best you could, if that makes sense?
Exactly. I think one advice that my dad always told me growing up was the day that you find something that you love and you can build a career out of it, it's like the one day it's when you're going to stop working, basically. Like, you're not be working anymore. Like, it doesn't feel like work. It
feels like play almost. Like you're
exactly. It's like, it's enjoyable. And sometimes people tell me like, oh my God, you work a lot. But I'm like, I don't work a lot. Like, I do what I like a lot, and so it's different. And so that is why I just feel my job is so fulfilling. And and I love being able to make sure, like right now when we had this COVID-19 outbreak, we were seeing a lot of gap. We were seeing a disparity in a lot of the community, the Spanish-speaking community, getting infected by COVID, and we did see a gap in information. And so, being able to come in and be like, we need to make sure that we're providing this information in the language that people feel more comfortable, that we're also being culturally competent, is very important. And understanding what other contributing factors are causing our community to be infected at higher rates than other populations. And so that is so gratifying to me to be able to do that change. And working, let's say, for example, for the city of Reno, and hearing people feel like the city is so inviting, and that they have a voice in making changes in our city, and they feel celebrated. It's something that's so gratifying, and I don't think my work is done. I think I've done 0.00000001 of what I want to do and the change I want to see. But I think it's a better world, and it's a better world for my son. So that's what's important for me.
And then as a Latina myself, it's nice to hear someone else really, I guess, represent everyone in our community, because it's not always like that. And I saw that you were also part of the Latino club in high school. I am also part of Mi Cultura, which is the same as that. Yeah. So I just want to talk to you about that club. How was it when you were here?
A fun fact: I was a founder.
Oh wow!
I was one of the founding members of the Mi Cultura. I was with me and a couple of my really good friends that we started Mi Cultura. Oh. Yeah, we had a Cinco de Mayo event to be able to fundraise for that. We had the first Spanish parent. What is the parent night or back to school night, and it was all in Spanish. And so, that's another gratifying part, that I think I left, something for this school. And it's so nice to hear that Mi Cultura is still going on. I graduated in 2007. I think we started the club in 2006. So it's, if I get my math right, I'm lucky on the math, but test me on my writing skills. But it's been a while, right? Since the club started, and so over 10 years. And so it's so nice to see that it's still around.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely something to be part of. As be part of the community. We get to spend time together. We actually get to talk about things. We get to celebrate Dia de los Muertos, Cinco de Mayo, do little celebrations here at the school. So it's good to incorporate our culture as well. And
I love it because I think, when you invite people into your culture, there's a unifying factor there, right?
Oh, definitely.
People start, people who are maybe not are not involved maybe, or have awareness of Dia de los Muertos or any other event that we have, and they start seeing, they're like, oh wow, this is so cool. And there's a certain amount of respect that you start feeling and getting, and you feel part of a full community.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to teach other people, especially people who may not really know anything about our culture. We're such a tight community, so I think it's really unifying to be able to bring everyone together and teach others about our culture. It's really nice. And
it's important because we are a small town, Incline is a small town, and but I feel I think I love my town no matter what. Yes. It's, and things like that you guys are doing with Mi Cultura just makes it even more special.
That's cool. And you touched upon it briefly, but we think it's really fascinating that you're bilingual and that you can connect to both cultures. And how do you think that has helped advance your career, or help it in any way?
I think in many ways. I think when you speak a different language, or you're bicultural or even tricultural, whatever, I really encourage people to learn a lot of languages and learn cultures. It brings a lot of value because you see things through a different lens, and I think that's not always appreciated. I see it more appreciated now, but you bring a whole different perspective, a whole different world, a whole different language. Because even when you look at language, there's words for things that maybe don't even exist in the English language, and it's important. Working in the communications field, that's my job, to communicate. Let me make sure that messages don't get lost in translation. And so that is why bilingualism is so important, especially when we see the numbers that 1 out of 4 people in Nevada or I was in Washoe County, are Latino. I think the recent census numbers show 30%. And that's amazing. And I see the growth. When I was in preschool, like I have my preschool picture from here, from Incline, and I was the only Latina in my class. And now I look at the kindergarten classes here, and they're like, 50% Latino, and we see the growth. And it's amazing to be able to adapt, because language is very important as a unifying factor, and culture is as well. And so bilingualism, I think I appreciated a lot during high school was when I started appreciating it more, because I think when I was in elementary school, even though you're little, you're like in elementary school, but I was thinking about things that maybe normal people don't think when you're in elementary school. Like you start thinking about like, why am I different? Why do my parents speak another language? Why is my skin different? And there's, a lot of people don't think those conversations when you're in kindergarten or you're in elementary school, but I had those conversations. And for many years, I think that I connected my bilingualism or what makes me different as something negative, as a weakness. And I think in high school, even in college, I think that those things started turning around, where I was like, my weakness is my strength. And I started owning it, and then I made a career into it. That what I thought was a weakness when I was little, that I thought my parents not speaking fluent English was a weakness. Now it's like, oh my God, they brought so much culture to me. And so that's why I think it's really important. Like I said, I advocate for everybody and anybody to learn a different language and to experience a different culture. If you can study abroad, do it.
Yeah, that's something I'm really interested in, because I took a couple years of Spanish here, not a ton, but I think it's really cool if I got the opportunity to immerse myself in just any culture. It doesn't matter which one, but I think it would be just from the little amount of traveling that I've done, I can just tell that the experience that you gain from going places and just learning what other people think and how they think, and it's really cool, and it's really eye-opening. So.
It definitely is. Yeah, I encourage you to keep doing it. Go live there.
Yeah,
live somewhere.
Yeah, because then you get to see, different points of view of people, how they live compared to how you live. You can really see the differences. Especially personally, when I go to Mexico, I really see how different things are, how many opportunities I've gained living here, and it's really nice to appreciate where you come from and where you are. Yeah,
it definitely is. I agree.
Yes. So to jump around, I'm currently in Unit 1 and 6 of We the People, and you didn't hear me present today, but we were wondering what it was like your experience in We the People, and what it was like to be the first, one of the first Latina in the program.
Yeah, I didn't think I would be in We the People. It was really, it was what I told you earlier, was Miss Brown kind of recruiting me to she saw a talent in me that I maybe didn't see, or maybe had the potential to, and she recruited me there. And the same thing I say with Mr. Himes, is that he recruited me to be part of this. I remember that I loved that class. I really, really enjoyed that class. And it made me also realize how the Constitution is for me too. And value it, and be able to use the Constitution to also defend a lot of my ideas or things that could advance the community. And so Unit 6, I'm glad you're in it. Yeah. So we're brothers and sisters of the Unit 6. And so that was a great experience. And I try to convince my brother to be part of it, but he's in a different wavelength than I am. I'm like, you got to continue the Contreras legacy and be part of We the People. But that's okay. But I said that I think that class was really changed my perspective on a lot of things. And now full circle, I'm still kind of involved in politics. When I was a reporter, they would assign me to cover a lot of the interview politicians, or to cover the legislature, and now I still work with the Congresswoman as well, and so it was a good experience that I still remember fondly.
That's really cool. Oh yeah, did you want to ask your question?
I know you've touched on this a little bit, but would you mind going a little bit deeper in how it was juggling, having your own family now and being such a part of a demanding career? How was that?
Yeah, I think once I had my son, I think work-life balance became like the most important thing in my life, is making sure that everything that I do, I know that it's time away from my son. So I better make it worth my time, what I'm investing my time in, and have to be away from my son. And so that's kind of where I mentally am able to balance that, because my work is so gratifying, and I know that what I do somehow has an impact on my son's future. And so that is how I'm able to like work a lot and still feel good about it. The juggling part of it, there's moments here that are stressful, but my husband is very, very supportive, and I think it really is true when they say raising a child, it takes a village. And so you can do everything you want to do in this world, and it's great to also have a support system. So my mom and my husband, my brother, also helping me out to raise Mateo, really helps me a lot so that I could be the best that I can.
Did you ever happen to lose like motivation or like need help rebuilding that?
Yeah, I think that's when I made that change in careers. Was when I was really losing motivation what my career was doing. Was what I was doing valuable? Was it all this time that I'm spending away from my son? Is it valuable? And so I'm kind of that one person that I'm always a cheerleader for everybody else. I'm the motivator for everybody else. And sometimes I needed that cheerleader, that motivator, and my mom and dad, I can't expect them to have, they're wonderful, supportive parents, but there are things that I had to look for, a therapist that really helped me process that and just gain my motivation again. I had gained a lot of weight too, and you could see it physical and mentally that I was dismotivated. And so I think taking care of my mental health and taking a break from the career, even though it didn't last that long, because I just love, like I said, I love what I do, and I love my keeping my brain stimulated. But it's a much needed, and I really do tell everybody that, mental health breaks are good, and seeking help is good too.
No, yeah, definitely.
A lot of people in our class were curious about your most memorable or impact like story that you covered, and like, yeah, just so you spent a lot of time away from your family. So like, was there any times where it's like super worth it in a way? Like, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think a lot of what I gained working as a reporter, there was a lot of value into it. I met so many people in different walks of life. And what was there's many gratifying moments too when you're able to change somebody's life. I mean, one interesting story was I spoke to a lady. She was retired, and she wasn't getting any of her Social Security money, and it was because for some reason they had marked her as she was dead. So everything that appeared on her file was that she was dead, and so she couldn't collect Social Security, a lot of her benefits, and she would call and do all these things to try to like change. Like, I'm not dead, I'm here. Like, I need help. She was struggling financially, and through a story that I did, I interviewed her. I talked to Social Security, and we were able to change it, and so she was able to get her pension again. And so that was something that like a unique story, right? Helping there. We did interview parents who had children with cancer, and helping fundraise for them, and even some stories when you're sharing information about maybe programs that people don't know. I mean, for example, the U visa, which is a visa for undocumented families who are victims of a violent crime or witnesses of a violent crime, and a lot of people not knowing that they have a legal path to residency because they were victims of a crime, sexual crime, or just a violent crime. I mean, a lot of people after the Las Vegas massacre who were workers and were witnesses to this tragic moment, they were able to qualify for a U visa. And so informing people about ways that they can improve their life is also another gratifying part of what I did as a journalist. And those are some of the fun stories. And I mean, but there were also stories that, broke my heart into pieces. I was here when the Sparks Middle School shooting happened. It was really heavy on me. I remember he was my boyfriend, but my husband now, he was like, hey, last night you were saying Jose. And I was like, what's going on? That was the name of the little boy who did the shooting. So you could see, like, even in my sleep, things like this, these stories were heavy on me. And the Las Vegas massacre, again, I didn't sleep for 30 hours. We actually went live for 24 hours nonstop. I got into work at 10 p.m. when the shooting happened, and I didn't go home till the next day at midnight. So just, covering wall-to-wall coverage. And so some of those things, still carry on, and the good and the bad, right? So I guess some of the memorable stories there that I worked, I guess, those are more the sad ones. But like I said, there was a lot of other gratifying stories that I was able to cover.
So it just carries on outside of your work life and probably impacts you pretty significantly in your home. Maybe not in a bad way all the time, but like you just get to carry all those experiences and with you, and it's like I think it's really motivating for other people to try to pursue as well.
Definitely. And I think, and I will say that even though I did a change in career, I mean, there's people, I still have a lot of friends who have continued to work and go to different, news stations. I have friends working in New York, in Los Angeles, and that they're in national news or kicking butt, and they love it and they enjoy, and they still have that motivation to continue working. And there's definitely an opportunity there, and there's always going to be a void or a need for informing our community. And sometimes it's sad to see all these newspapers are dying off, and we're starting to see some programming even here in Reno. They don't even have a Spanish news station anymore. They used to have a correspondent, and they don't have it anymore. So sometimes it is sad to see that some of those things are, kind of little by little shutting down. But there's also there's also kind of this other, it's modernizing, right? It's not that just like, news is just dying completely. There's that it's this podcast, right? Like this is also new, and it's awesome that you guys are learning to do innovative ways of sharing information. Even TikTok is a way of, sharing information. Of course, we have the whole thing about making sure that information is correct, right? Because as we see this citizen journalism growing, we also have to be responsible about it. And so, I guess my advice for people going into media is making sure that you are learning all these innovative ways to get this information out there.
Did going to Vegas really help you improve your career and who you were as a person? Going from such a small town to a large city, how impactful was that?
Yeah, I think it was a must. I had to get out of my comfort zone. This is my home. I'm dealing with the same people, maybe even to a certain context, some certain shaped point of views and perspectives. And going into Vegas, it is a bigger city, and so it did change my career a lot because there was a lot more resources in the news stations that I was working for. There was a lot more diverse, I would also say, even in cuisine and in people, and the culture is different, the people are different. And so even though it's just 8 hours from here, just the south end of Nevada, it's still different, right? So it's always also good that I do say getting out of where you live is important. Even for me, moving out of Incline, moving to Reno to go to college was also eye-opening. Mm-hmm. I started meeting different people who had, different, that enjoyed different things, or maybe that I found similarities with that maybe I didn't find here in Incline. And so I think it's always good to keep, moving out of your comfort zone.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any final message to people wishing to pursue, not even just media, but if they want to be a teacher, or just any general broader advice kind of message that you could give to younger people? Definitely.
I think that it's important that you go and you pursue a career that makes you smile when you think about it. Do a gut check and think about, okay, close your eyes and imagine yourself being a teacher, being a doctor, a lawyer, opening your own business or whatever it may be. Close your eyes, and if it makes you smile, do it. Do it. Also think about what, outside of just career-wise, just think about what makes you happy. Does having a work-life balance, for example, does that make you happy? What kind of benefits make you happy? And think a little bit ahead. Like, if I'm a doctor, am I going to have a good work-life balance? Probably not. You're going to be on call. But does it make you happy? Then take it, And so those are some of the things that maybe when my brain switched from being a teenager or a young adult into an adult, you start looking at that, like, the work-life balance, for me at least, is important, and what kind of benefits I enjoyed and what brought me passion. And so I think we have those, if we start reflecting on that or thinking of that ahead of the game, then you'll make sure that whatever you put your energy into to become a career, that it's going to give you happiness, because that's important. I think at the end of the day, it's like, of course, making money is important. Even as a Latinos, like, it's important that you're always going to be better than the previous generation. You got to improve. But also, just, are you going to be happy? That's my advice, is always like, are you going to be happy? And make sure you work towards fulfillment and having a life that makes you, that's gratifying to you.
Thank you so much, Ivet, and thank you for sharing your story today. We appreciate having you, and yeah, that is all we have time for today, but we appreciate you coming in, and that was really good information.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing all the other after class podcasts and everybody else you're going to share and talk to.